Hey everybody, Sean, Kelly here talking about inspections, and I'm so excited. So that's why the intro was a little bit wonky there. I should have let you take it over.
Well, let's dive in because I know you're excited about this.
Let's do it.
Home inspections.
Okay, Sean, there are so many things to talk about with home inspections, and you've put me on such a deadline, so I don't know how to do this, right?
Okay, so you're going to talk.
Okay.
Here's our outline too, if that helps at all.
Oh, I'm probably not even going to use that. I've got my outline right here. Okay, so we talk a lot about in this market about waiving inspections, right? And we're typically talking about the home inspection, right?
Yes.
The grand poobah of inspections.
So should we start with like defining what the inspection is?
No.
Okay.
We shouldn't. We're gonna take it because I like contract-based stuff. I like going in order so that they are better, easier to understand what we're talking about and what we're not talking about. We're gonna start with page 1 of the sales contract. Again, we're here in Northern Virginia. Sorry, it's gonna be fine. See how fast I'm talking?
Okay.
Okay, so what an inspection is not is the appraisal, right?
Is that what I just said?
Sean, please, no, but you didn't say it in time. You didn't say it at the right time.
Okay.
Sean, please tell us what an appraisal is and why it's not a home inspection.
Okay. If you need to play this, if you need to play this on 1/2 speed to understand what she's saying, go for it. Okay, so an appraisal is an appraiser goes into the property, and the appraiser will determine the value of the property based on size, based on condition, based on comps,
Bedrooms,
and so on.
bathrooms,
Bedrooms, bathrooms. Now the FHA and a VA appraiser does do an FHA and a VA inspection, but those are only for safety issues like handrails, chipping paint, things that could be a safety issue.
Those are things that must be remedied for them to approve the loan,
for
that
VA
type
or
of
an
loan.
FHA loan, that's right. But they are not doing a home inspection, they're not checking the dishwasher and the washing machine and all the function of the house. So that's what a home inspection does.
And that's a good point to make, and it's like, why do the sellers care if we're getting our money VA, FHA versus conventional, right? Well, they care because of that very thing.
Yeah.
So in a market like ours, where everybody's waiving all the inspections and sometimes even appraisals, why are they going to sign up for a mandatory fix on a VA or FHA inspection when they've got other offers coming in where they don't have to do that? So that's right. So that's why.
Yep. But we're not talking about those specifically. We're talking about home inspection.
Yes.
Where you hire an inspector that goes in and represents you and searches the home for.
Well, we're not only just talking about that, so let's pause that for a second. Let's move on to page 4 of our sales contract, where here's another type of inspection. If you're buying a property that's in an HOA or a condo association, you have to get the condo docs, right? You have a 3-day period to review these docs. Why is that important? Among all the myriad details about the financials and yada, 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 what you are allowed to do, not allowed to do, pets and whatnot, they will send someone out to inspect that unit, that condo unit. And when you get all that paperwork, all your condo or HOA docs, you're going to have a page that has your inspection report from them with any violations. The seller does have to remedy the violations on that. Okay. And they know that.
So the point on that is, again, this is not a home inspection. It's looking for compliance issues. For example, in a condo, if they require that you have 70% coverage by carpet, and the seller went through and put all hardwoods in, that's a violation. It has to be remedied. Or if they've remodeled with something that was not permitted, or if there's something on the exterior. So these are not functional.
They put like different light bulbs in the outside that they're supposed to have.
Yeah, they can have some ridiculous things on that. So, but anyway, so that's an association inspection.
Yes.
Good point.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, the one that we're really talking about when we say waive inspections, that's also on page 4 of our sales contract at the bottom.
None of the 3 that we just mentioned, FHA, VA, or association, none of those can be waived. They're all required.
If you get the VA or FHA, you're locked in. If you're buying a property that's in an HOA or a condo association, you're locked into getting that, and the seller has to fix those, okay? Yep. So property maintenance and condition inspections. This is the big cheese. This is what we're talking about. And this is what you can waive, okay? So you can either check the box that this contract is contingent upon this inspection, or it is not contingent upon this inspection. Today's market, people are really waiving this contingency, but let's talk, I would like to hear you talk about ways to still get this inspection sort of, and not have an inspection contingency, which is like a big, nobody wants to do it because.
Okay. First of all, to define what a contingency is a term, one of the terms in a contract that if this contingency is not met, the buyer has the right to void the contract. So they get to do an inspection. If they have an inspection contingency, they have the right to either void and negotiate for repairs in that contingency, or the contract can be voided by the buyer.
Right.
So sellers are in such a strong position right now that they're accepting offers that buyers are not putting this contingency in because the sellers don't want the buyers to have an out. So that's what this is. And a lot of buyers do use the inspection contingency as a way to get out of a contract for a myriad of reasons. So the best way to protect yourself as a buyer, because there is a risk, Virginia specifically is a buyer beware state, so there is no seller disclosure required. So for you,
well, there is a disclosure. It just says
that there's no disclosure.
You gotta check yourself.
That's right. So in Virginia, you have to, the buyer is taking responsibility for the property. So the best way for you to protect yourself is to try to, and be a strong offer, is to try to do a pre-offer inspection, or what they call a walk and talk inspection, where your inspector comes and walks through the house with you, checking everything they can during your appointment to give you a good idea of the function of the house.
I like that. For certain houses and certain ages, I really like a walk and talk. For houses that are a little bit older and maybe it's like, is there a foundation? Something, you know, I like the pre-offer, but sellers don't always allow that just because it's an official inspection. It can take, depending on property size, it can take a few hours actually for some of the larger properties. And when that's going on, the seller can't allow other showings, right? So they're not allowing shoppers in to the store, essentially, during this inspection. So a lot of times they don't offer that. So the walk and talk is awesome.
So those are the ways to try to get it. The risk to the buyer is you can do several of these walk and talk inspections or pre-offer inspections, and you may not get the property, or
and you've paid for the inspection.
Had to pay for the inspection, or you may not want the property after the results of the inspection. So you can run up a little bit of an expense there paying for all these inspections, but you're protecting yourself against the risks. If you do decide that you want to make your offer contingent on an inspection, there, like you mentioned, there's a negotiate option and there's a void option. In Virginia, with the void option, it's still, you can say, okay, we're voiding on grounds of the home inspection, and the seller might say, well, what is it? You know, we'll deal with it. Is it just, you know, like a little crack or something? Then they're going to deal with it. In other states, like Maryland is one, that void means void. You don't even talk about negotiating, or you're a big loser. And one of the
not you, but your agent.
One of the key points here that really needs to be emphasized is, in a void-only inspection, the buyer cannot start that conversation. The buyer has to, if they don't want the property, if there's a foundation issue or whatever, they have to void the contract. They have to let the seller's agent know they're going to void, and then the seller's agent can start the conversation on behalf of the seller.
And sometimes they're like, we have to play it like, we're going to void on this, hoping, like, please negotiate. And then if they don't, it's like, well, maybe not. Maybe not.
So there's a little bit of a gamification there, but a void-only inspection is void-only. The buyer cannot start negotiating. That's bad form, and it's against the contract.
That's fair. Another type of inspection that could happen and really never does, like we've never really had any, is the lead-based, right? If your property was, or the subject property was built before 1978, there's a lead-based paint hazard. And on page 6 of our contract, it says, yes, it was constructed before this time or was not, and the buyer does or does not waive this inspection. They always waive it. I mean, at this point, properties have been... the
remediation for lead-based paint exposure is to paint over it or have it removed, but houses have been repainted over so many times since 1978 that there's really a very low risk for it.
Still in the contract. Okay, another type of inspection is your wood-destroying insects, the WDI inspection. This is typically for... it's not age related, it's typically property type related, so you're not going to really do this in condos above the 4th floor. It's kind of weird to do it, even though VA requires it anyway.
Sometimes,
which is kind of
they can.
Weird. So that's that. A lot of people, it's inexpensive to get this inspection. It's what, $45?
Yeah, it's $45. The important part on the paragraph on this inspection is that there's language in there that says if there's anything found and if a remediation is done or repairs are required, that the seller is responsible for those repairs. So if the seller decides not to repair it, then the buyer can void.
Yeah.
The biggest expense we've seen with the WDI has been a termite treatment, which is around $500, $600.
Yeah.
So
we
it's,
recommend waiving this, right? Don't give the sellers a reason to say no to your offer when you can just pay the maximum, right? That we've seen anyway is once you buy
yeah.
it, and if you run the inspection, $45. Worst case scenario, remediation. Let's go out there and say $800. Would $850 be worth losing the contract, right? So that's what you have to ask yourself.
Yeah, and to go a little bit further with that, so we never recommend removing an inspection because that puts you at risk. But if you're trying to strengthen your offer, this is one of the ones that's the least risky for you to do, especially since when you're looking at the house, if it's a townhouse, you have shared walls, there's a whole issue that comes with that. But you can look at a house and you can see if there are tubes and if there is a risk for that.
What do you mean by tubes?
Insect tubes, like termite tubes. Yeah, there's tubes.
Like they're not the tubes.
Walls. But you can see, you can tell if a house has a risk of it. So this is one of the least risky ones to, if you're going to waive something, potentially waive.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, there's another type of inspection. It's the well and or septic inspection. This is an additional contingency addendum that we would add to the contract. This is going to happen in the instance where a property is not on public sewer and is on septic, and or not on public water, but rather has their own well. And it can be one or both. For example, our house, we're on public sewer, but we have a private well, which is awesome.
Yeah. So the septic inspection is one that it is the riskiest there is to waive. Unless there's been an inspection done by the seller and you've got it and you trust the company that did it, but this can lead into $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in repairs. So
as a matter of fact, when we represent sellers with a septic, we recommend they get the inspection to say, hey, we can allay everybody's fears.
Because they're going to have to fix it anyway, so they might as well go ahead and get it done.
That's true.
Yep.
This is just, did you want to make any points on the actual home inspection? And radon, we didn't mention radon.
Yeah,
that's
radon.
A part of the big mambo jumbo home inspection.
Yeah, so the radon inspection.
The big mama.
Not getting too technical because, because we don't really know the technicals, but.
I do, I'm just not, I just don't have time for it.
Yeah, that's right. Radon is a gas that's released from the ground. It's a natural gas that occurs, it's in the atmosphere, but when you have a basement, sometimes that radon can collect. So you'll run a radon test, they'll check for radon levels. As long as it's under a normal range, it's fine. If it's not, then a remediation could be required. The biggest expense we've seen on that's under $2,000, running piping out, and they pump the radon out.
Yeah.
So
this is the biggest risk in properties where you don't have it's an enclosed basement, right? It's not a walk out or walk up or anything like that. It's like just a get there from the inside and that's it.
Yeah,
right.
so
That's the biggest risk.
If you have a basement, that's usually when you would want to run a radon test. But again, the remediation is pretty minimal. So if you're trying to strengthen your offer, this is another one you can feel comfortable waiving. Get it done on your own later, remediate it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had a brain thing about that.
A brain thing.
Yeah, it's called a thought. This weird thing happened in my brain.
Happening in my
mind. My gosh. That was I keep wanting to say meth. It wasn't meth. What was that our buyer called and he was having the headaches and everything? The brain thing wasn't strong enough. Carbon monoxide, not meth. Anyway, I'm weird. I'm weird. I'm gonna stop.
I think you're having a meth issue.
Okay. Then there's the walkthrough inspection. This is like not a
pre-settlement walkthrough.
It's a pre-settlement walkthrough. So you've heard us say walk and talk, and I wanted to bring this up so that you didn't think it was the same thing as the walkthrough inspections. This is going to be done a day or even a day before the day of your settlement. This is like, hey, just checking and making sure the property was in the same condition that you stipulated it needed to be in on your contract, which is either date of offer, date of home inspection, whatever.
Yep. Make sure all the appliances are there. They didn't change fixtures. They didn't take the blinds. Things that were supposed to be left are still there, and there are no new holes and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yep.
The other thing that has the word inspection on it is our inspection contingency removal addendum. This is going to be required if you've got the big cheese
home
of an inspection. Or the septic or any of these other things, we're going to send you this and you say check, 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 we're removing this, we're moving past it. And that could be like a notice. Usually I do that as a notice. This one's going to say, hey, we want you to fix these things. And buyer and seller have to sign this saying that it will be fixed. And that wraps up. Oh my gosh, I have 60 whole seconds.
With 16 seconds to spare.
Aren't you so...
High five. Yep.
Wait, let me go this way.
All right. Any questions about inspections, please reach out to us. Post it in the comments below. Email us, call us, text us.
It's so fun. Just reach out and touch us. Not like that.
All right.
Not like that, you nasty person.
Onto the market report. Here we go. Okay, here we are with this week's market snapshot for the weekend of Easter 2024.
This is the smarty pants second.
Yep.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, you gonna start?
Yeah, I'm gonna start. Okay, everybody, we have, as usual, the buyer activity is here in the orange little squiggle line. Wow, it's up there, but it looks like it's coming down. And then the blue line is the inventory. What's that done, Sean? It looks like they both started going up really, really high, and then they've crept back down. Could that be because it's Good Friday?
Could
Easter?
be. Well, this was as of Wednesday.
Could that be because we were experiencing spring break?
Could be.
Okay, great, and that's
ready?
our market report.
All right. Yes, buyer activity is the orange line. Took a little dip over the last 7 days. It is spring break, so that's not a surprise. Inventory also took a little dip, again, spring break related. You can see that the gap between the 2 points, this is demand, this is supply. That gap is pretty close to what it was the week before, but it did go up, grow in size just a little bit. So if you look over here on the strength of the seller's market, you can see that we did do a little bit more of an upward trend. So basically for the last several months, we have been continuing an increase in the strength of the seller's market. We will be going into the end of the spring market and into the summer here soon, which should put us into this area like here. So we should start seeing ourselves going like this.
Which means more competition.
More competition, more competitive offers, more bidding wars. Sellers,
higher prices.
Sellers, you're going to have more competition against your property, so you are going to have it priced appropriately. But if you do price it appropriately, you're going to have a lot of buyers coming to it, and it's going to bid up. So, so that's the market. Buyers, it's still you still need to get into the market.
Right?
You got to live somewhere, and it's only going up from here. We don't see things changing. All the headlines about the settlements and the changes and everything, the market is still growing. The market is still moving strongly.
Strongest.
Strength.
Wait, maybe I'll have one of those new
activities.
Those new phenomenons in my head called a thought.
All right. If you have any questions about this, please feel free to let us know. And we'll see you on next week's Market Snapshot.
Happy Easter. Happy Good Friday and all the stuff.